to hurt, to fight, to neglect, to coerce, to torture, and to kill. Do anything and everything than to take care of me, your mother. Hopefully you believe it now, that I own my decision to regain my blue skies, clean air, and clear water. If I wanted to, I can put you all under lockdowns. I can force you all to stay at home until you learn to take care of me. I can show you now that change is inevitable. You humans are the only ones who will suffer, and I will continue to exist. All what you've been through was only a friendly warning that your actions will not lead you anywhere but to your failure. But as your loving mother, whose love to you is unconditional, I still want you stronger, safer, wealthier, happier, and wiser. I want to help you, if only you listen. Dear humans, please wash your hands of your old actions and bear in mind that the same actions will not lead to different results. Sons and daughters, begin a new chapter with a safer future for generations to come, who hopefully will be more humane to me than you.
شاهدنا في هذا الفيلم أبرز التأثيرات التي تحدث من التغيرات المناخية على كوكب الأرض، ولا نبالغ إذا قلنا أن هذه السنوات هي سنوات حاسمة لحل هذه المشكلة. أرحب بالمتحدثين اللي هيكونوا موجودين في هذه الجلسة معنا هنا على المنصة: الدكتور مصطفى مدبولي رئيس مجلس الوزراء المصري، السفير محمد نصر مدير إدارة المناخ والبيئة والتنمية المستدامة بوزارة الخارجية ومستشار مجموعة المفوضين الأفارقة، كاسي فلاين وهي المستشار الاستراتيجي بشأن تغير المناخ بالمكتب التنفيذي لبرنامج الأمم المتحدة الإنمائي، وأيضاً عقيل حجات وهو مؤسس شركة C12 للاستشارات البيئية والتنموية في إفريقيا، كريم طراف مؤسس شركة هوا سوا، وماركو شليتس وهو باحث واستشاري في Open Earth Foundation. كما سيكون أيضاً معنا مجموعة من المتحدثين عن بعد، ولكن دعونا نبدأ من المنصة ونبدأ تحديداً
from the podium, and we will start with Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, the Prime Minister of Egypt. The Egyptian experience is a very special experience. How did we address it in COP26, and how we will go with this experience to COP27? In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful, His Excellency President Fattah el-Sisi, President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, August Gathering, it's an honor to be amongst you in the World Youth Forum in its fourth session, which is discussing a very pivotal issues discussing humanity in general. In the most important session at the level of the forum, where we have been honored with the participation of their excellencies presidents, on top of which our Excellency President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, who tackled their vision for the world post-corona and how the world will be, and the experience of each and every country in tackling and addressing this pandemic that has affected the whole humanity. But all agreed that the topic of climate change is, in fact, a very important issue at all levels, and it should be, in fact, met decisively and to expedite dealing with this challenge to solve issues in the coming future. In the last 25 years, when we had international experts who, in fact, warned us about climate change, our receiving to these issues that they were predictions or pessimistic predictions, and that it will not happen during our existence, and generation of the future will witness these repercussions of the climate change. In my introduction, in the 10 seconds that we talked, more than 10,000 ton metering of greenhouse gases emission every 10 seconds, and these are equal to 170 in fact weight of individuals. We are witnessing the repercussions and the ramifications of climate change. In fact, in the North Pole is now suffering the rising of temperature and carbon dioxide emission, the increase of sea level that many places are suffering from. This is a result due to the high emissions of carbon dioxide. As you can see the curve, we started in 1960s and now we are moving towards 2023, and this resulted in the increase in the average of temperature of Earth planet and decrease in the quality of air, climate phenomena which is extreme, and increase of sea level. And according to the estimations of all experts who said that since 1970 till to date, we have losses around $3.6 billion, and the annual figure dealing with climate change starting 2030, the estimation cost, it will be 30 from 280 to 500 billion US$ annually. Only in 2021 we had 10 disasters at the international level. We are followed, whether in Europe, United States, China. Its losses led to more than 170 billion US$. So today we are talking about a phenomena which is very serious and threatening the human being. Beside to all what I have mentioned, the whole world witnessed that due to the increase in temperature, more deaths and loss of lives, particularly within the age bracket of 65 years of age, and they were around 350,000, and we will add even more loss of life will be added by 2050. We will be, in fact, close to 2 million individuals who will be dying due to the phenomena of climate change and its repercussions. And due to these impacts, we expect to have 325 million individuals will be suffering from abject poverty, and 216 million individuals will be forced for internal migration due to desertification, climate change, and so forth. Hence, the problem that the whole world is referring to and warning and alarming that the environmental crisis rate will double 3 times in the coming period, whether hot waves, destruction of crops, fires in forests, and we all have witnessed all these phenomena last year. Hence, what is being said that our children environmental crisis and disasters that have been faced by us. In fact, children under the age of 5 will die out of air pollution. Now the world is moving, starting the framework United Nations agreement, Kyoto Protocol, and the most important agreement, Paris for the climate change, 2015. All these agreements and conventions, the whole world are setting a mechanism to take executive and organizational measures. Was the COP26. The COP26 that was held in Glasgow came out with a number of recommendations and decisions to agree in activating Paris Convention that was suspended. A number of developed countries withdrawn, but now it is being activated. And we agreed that countries who will, in fact, share in financial contribution have been activated as with new pledges for funding to face this important and critical phenomenon, particularly developing countries. In case of Egypt, developing countries were not the reason behind this phenomenon, but now it is committed at the rest of the world to pay the cost and the bill dealing with this issue beside other countries worldwide. Hence, it's very important for developed countries who were the main reason behind this phenomenon to have their major contribution in this area. We had new negotiators to estimate funding and to deal with the topic and what kind of mechanisms of implementation that will be used. And Mr. Antonio Guterres, who said that it was a very important and significant step, but it's not enough. Here comes the importance of COP27 that will be hosted by Egypt in this beautiful city of Sharm El-Sheikh by the end of this year in order to set together the executive framework for this issue. We as a humanity have very important topics and issues to reduce emissions and to have targets and figures at the level of the world, adaptation, funding, and it's very important to provide the necessary funding for these mega projects and to have mechanisms for following up and monitoring to make sure that what we have agreed upon will be implemented. Where Egypt in this topic? Let me talk about how the world is looking upon Egypt regarding climate change. Egypt is one of the most countries who will be subjected to the repercussions of climate change, despite its responsibility is very limited. But Egypt will be one of the most countries who will be affected by the negative impact of climate change. Our figures says that Egypt contributions is 0.6% of all emissions at the international level. This is a very, in fact, low contribution, but we will be majorly and will be negatively affected by this phenomenon, the increase in sea level and the drowning of many cities or a number of cities. But the world say that Egypt has a huge capabilities regarding new and renewable energy, and the announcement said by Richard that Egypt owned the biggest capacity of energy, electricity and wind in North Africa. But despite of that, Egypt has a plan to double this energy by 300% in the coming period, so that new and renewable energy will be a very important part, and Egypt, beside United Emirates, will lead this direction with other countries in the region. Egypt will be the faster market for hydropower taken from the dams, but will be one of the faster countries in development and one of the biggest 5 countries with the expected increase in the production of renewable energy at the level of the Middle East and the Arab region. Hence, Egypt is in fact attractive for investments in producing energy and power, and we are one of the biggest countries in fact, formulated laws and regulations and legislations producing renewable energy, and we have jumped 20 ranks regarding the policies related to climate change. Egypt also is one of the most important countries producing green hydrogen, and also international agency, and in every slide I will be putting the international source talking about this. It's not us talking about the world. What are the efforts that should be exerted by Egypt to counter climate change? From the first minute, the presidential direction is to establish the National Council for Climate Change, presided by the Cabinet and the relative ministers, in order to set the mechanisms to deal with climate change. We are moving, in fact, in 5 pivotal axes. In fact, we have low reduction, but most of it was coming out from traditional energy. So we will be rationalizing emissions coming from this traditional to exploit new and renewable energy and gas, and to reduce emissions from fossil fuel, and to benefit from new energies that, in fact, with less carbon dioxide emission, and to reduce energy transfer, and to produce energy and to use it in the same place. We launched the National Strategy for Climate Change through this council, implementing mega projects, and we'll be tackling it in brief, whether in terms of adaptation or to reduce impact of climate change. We issued the first green bonds, and we were one of the first countries issuing green bonds depending on its projects, and we issued these bonds, and it was one of the first countries, and all, in fact, commended this initiative. And the most important thing, that we set important policies to encourage private change to participate through the electricity tariff and transferring wastes to energy. In fact, we started to be concerned with climate change, and we set the national plan for water resources till 2037. Egypt is one of the the most poor country regarding water, and in COP27 this year in Sharm El-Sheikh, how the world will deal with water scarcity and water pollution. And Egypt has pioneering experience in this issue, that we set a plan for 2037. We have been implementing this plan for 5 years. The cost of this plan is more than $50 billion. The Egyptian state is implementing mega projects in water desalination and treatment of agricultural wastewater and sanitation, and to make use of each and every drop of water. Egypt is one of the highest countries in exploiting water drops. One of the most important mega projects implemented by Egypt, rationalization of water, and to benefit from each and every drop of water, protecting the shores. And this is a huge project implemented by the Egyptian state for the threatened areas in North Delta, and how that we are conducting projects with partners in development, and the persistence of the Egyptian state to adopt all these projects and to develop water lakes. And these lakes were neglected for hundreds of years, and we lost many lakes, and the quality of these lakes was affected negatively. We are implementing on ground full development for these lakes, and I will give you one example. One of them, developing El Manzala Lake with its area 250 faddan. The cost is estimated by $2 million to restore this lake. All of these are mega projects implemented by the Egyptian state to counter climate change and to address it. As for the new and renewable energy, our plan that we will reach by the end of this year from 20% of the total generated energy will be new and renewable energy, but the objective before 2035, it will be 42% the energy in Egypt, and the power will be generated from new and renewable energy. And also, the project that was opened with Excellency the President in Aswan, solar energy and the new renewable and new energy, we are implementing a very huge project for the, in fact, natural gas to be extended to different villages to replace, in fact, the traditional one in order to have clean environment. And we are producing electric vehicles in order to depend on the fuel of these cars, to depend on electricity and on the clean fuel. Also, in the collective transportation, we are implementing new system for collective transportation, the electric train, the monorail, and also we have a network of more than 2,000 kilometers being implemented and will be implemented in a few years in order to cope with climate change and to reduce harmful emissions. And also this a new generation of green cities. They are all smart cities depending on green and sustainable cities. And today we are talking that all governmental buildings, whether in the new capital or even in the existing cities, we will introduce solar energy in order to reduce its consumption for the traditional energy. Also another program, transforming wastes to energy and the integrated management for the wastes, regarding the management and recycling of these wastes, and solid waste to be transformed to biogas and to energy. And this is also one of the most important projects.
The Egyptian state, Egyptian government has an investment plan in order to have the majority as green projects. So 30% of the state projects are actually green projects, and we target 50% of the investment projects of Egypt to be green projects. So this means that all projects that have to do with development infrastructure are essentially green or eco-friendly projects. On top of which is Haya Karima, or this decent living project. This is a project that His Excellency the President pointed out to yesterday, and this aims at improving the quality of life of Egyptian citizens, especially in rural areas, and main component of it has to do with climate change when it comes to adaptation and mitigation. And through COP27 and hosting this conference is to actually target the African continent and developing nations. This conference that will be held in Sharm El-Sheikh should be a mouthpiece where these nations and countries would be able to express their needs and start and launch initiatives that would help with this phenomenon. At the national level, we work on reducing plastic consumption. We have an initiative for green incentives for the private sector in Egypt, also coordinating between Egyptian think tanks, and we are going to have an award for green innovation and green projects. And I would like to conclude by telling our youth something about the role, because it's a key role in the future. In fact, all international projects come from national projects that are outside of the box, based on the innovation of youth and Egyptian youth when it comes to Egypt, of course. This is why we are really keen on working on knowledge transfer and exchange in the upcoming period in order to encourage our youth on innovation and the implementation of all innovative ideas to achieve the targets. We don't want to take any idea lightly, because here I say that any small group of committed citizens are able to change the world. This might be a lot to say, but this is our hope for the future, really. Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency Mustafa Madbouli, Prime Minister of Egypt, for presenting the Egyptian experience in countering climate change. This is a very important experience, and we will try to tackle its most important points throughout the discussion. Allow me now to go to the second speaker of this session, and he's Mr. John Kerry, the U.S. Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, and he has a very famous quote. He was negotiating for stopping wars, but now he is fighting for an existential issue, which is
Good
climate.
afternoon, everybody. I'm delighted to be able to be with you, and thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm delighted to be able to be with you, and thank you very, very much for inviting me here as we get ready to join you for this important meeting. I want to thank President Al-Sisi for his leadership on this issue and his commitment to have a government of Egypt sponsor the next COP, COP27. I'm very glad to be able to help celebrate Egypt's leadership on climate and its readiness to engage young people around the world, recognizing that it is young people who have really been asking the adults to behave like adults and get the job done. And so I think your participation in this as young people is absolutely critical. If I can take a moment, I'd like to pay my respects to Foreign Minister Sami Shukri. He is a good friend from our years together when he was Foreign Minister and I was Secretary of State. And I also want to thank Minister Fouad, who has been a close partner in this through Glasgow, and now will be called on to exercise great leadership as we go forward towards Sharm El-Sheikh. Let me just say that I understand full well that those of you who are in a younger generation are somewhat frustrated today. And I want you to understand that I and many others who are older than you share that frustration. The scientists have told us unequivocally that we have about the next 8 years within which we must make the critical decisions and implement them in order to avoid the worst consequences of the climate crisis. And now today, in every country in the world, no one is spared. Every country, people are feeling the consequences of this climate crisis. We've seen fires, unprecedented, out of control. We've seen record levels of heat. We see the Antarctic, where just the other day, a massive ice sheet broke off. So I understand your frustration. We accepted the responsibility in Glasgow again of trying to hold the Earth's temperature increase to about 1.5 degrees. And I'm proud to tell you that 65% of global GDP has signed up to do exactly that. The biggest challenge we all face right now is to get our systems, our government systems, the private sector joined with it, to actually move fast enough. And right now, we're not. So I hope we can rely on all of you to bring the pressure to bear that is necessary. This is not a transformation that we have to be scared of. This is really important to grab onto. The economic opportunities are gigantic. Millions of jobs can be created as we build out new energy systems, as we build electric vehicles instead of internal combustion engine vehicles, as we build smart grids in our country where we can take solar from one part of the nation and send it to another part of the nation, or wind power, which could even be sold to other countries if you have a surplus of power. The fact is that this is the largest market, the energy market, that the world has ever known. And if we do what we say we're going to do, This is going to be an exciting transformation. In the end, my friends, this is the way we build better security for all of our nations. We will need to deploy trillions of dollars of investment to help us make this transformation. And happily, I can tell you, many of the major
economic and social practices adopted by countries in every region, many of them developing countries, and we'll bring these to your attention. We will also be working to integrate human rights into all the work of the UN's economic and social programs. Before concluding, I want to make a few remarks about recovery from this crisis. As the Secretary General has highlighted, we must build back better. We simply cannot return to where we were before COVID-19. No country was prepared for this shock, which in every state has been exacerbated by inequalities, particularly in access to healthcare, social protections, and public services. We need to redouble efforts to build more inclusive and sustainable economies and to shape societies that are more resilient in the face of shocks. The 2030 Agenda is fully mapped and universally approved. It remains our strongest tool. Excellencies, distinguished representatives, this is a colossal test of leadership. It demands decisive, coordinated, and innovative action from all and for all. All of you have received a letter informing you of the work being undertaken by my office in the context of COVID-19, and I will provide regular updates as the situation evolves. The UN stands for leaving no one behind, helping all states to transform the economic, political, and social paradigms that have fueled this lack of resilience. We must act together, always, because it is right to do so and because it is in our interest to do so. My office will continue working to maximize the force of our partnerships across the UN system and well beyond, to ensure that human rights and sustainability are at the heart of efforts to respond to and recover from the pandemic. We must remain alert because COVID-19 is not over, and time will not slow down when something unpleasant lies ahead. COVID-19 has put the world in pain, so let us heal the world together.